Okay, now this is how I like to do my trigger loops. I like, in harps I make, I like to have a perfectly round trigger loop. And I like for it to be about yay tall. See, that's about about 2 millimeters tall. Here I've got a harp. I've installed the reed on it. This is a Bebb Jaw Harp Johnson. And I've went ahead and 3 millimeters out from the end, I bent it up at a 90. It's looking pretty good. Now I need to get this loop on here. Now I used to use really fine needle nose like this to get this effect. What I found, and I think a subscriber actually suggested this, is ring or loop making pliers. If you look at these pliers, let's see if I can get the camera to pick this up. If we look at the end of here, these are wire looping pliers. You see half of the plier has a little divot and the other half has round. You can get them where they're a solid taper from beginning to end. I like the ones that are like a 2 or 3 or 4 step taper. Now what I'm going to do is, the way that I got this bent like this is I gripped it in between pliers. I marked where my end is at, and I always want my end to occur at the end, not too far afterward, and definitely not ever into the embouchure area. If you make your bend down in the embouchure area, you're going to get a fuzzy harp. You want for the entirety of the embouchure and reed area for it to be in a straight line. So I've made this bend. Now I'm going to grip it with my smooth jaw pliers. And what this is just a little butane torch. I've used some of the bigger propane and MAP gas torches. It's too big, it gets too hot too fast for me. So with these butane torches, you can lock it. They have a lock on the side. Careful you don't burn yourself. What I'm going to do here, I get it near the edge of the table so I can grip this. Now I have, and I always seem to shake really bad, and make sure you don't have your loop making pliers backwards, which I about did. Want your loop so it curls. I like my loop so it curls toward me, so I'll get it in the flame here. And I'm just going to warm it up a little bit. Apply light pressure. Keep it on the loop there. And just keep bringing it around a little bit at a time. Don't get yourself into a hurry when doing this. You do not want to break your reed. Try to keep it straight. It's really easy to get shooting off to the side, but I'll show you how to fix that. There we go. Keep them warming up. If you get going off to one side, you can angle your pliers and bring it back in. I want to keep it kind of in the middle. Just dip it in. So I got some lukewarm water here. As soon as you dip your harp, if you're quenching, as soon as you dip your harp in there, make sure that you wipe it back off, because one thing you'll find is hot metal in hot water tends to oxidize very quickly. Now, what I've got here is I'm a little bit taller on this. Oh, try not to burn myself, which I just did. That's I'm actually looking through the camera right now, trying to get a good shot. Here we are. I'm a little bit tall. I wonder what I sound like. Yeah, I need to come down just a little bit more. I want to be that 2 millimeters or so high. That's my height that I most enjoy it. There, touch over 2. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to curl this on our way down. Trying to burn myself. Look at that, I took some hairs off my hand. That's one of the dangers in looking at the camera when you're doing this. Hold it. Put it next to the edge. And then I'll get the loop maker in there. There, the loop maker's easy to burn yourself here. Loop maker is in there. And then I'll just heat it up and just keep this spiral coming down. Because it can stay perfectly round and get shorter. Let's see where we're at. There. darn near same height. This harp is going to take some adjustment. We're going to keep coming down a little bit further till I hit that about 2 millimeters. Knock the camera, warm it up. And once it's warmed up, I can loop it a little bit at a time. I'm not squeezing hard. Careful not to go too far. I've been using the same pickle jar for quenching my reeds since I started. We're out here. There we go. I've hit about 2 millimeters high. Now, next thing I need to check is, am I pretty well perpendicular? It looks like I am, but you can see by looking down it, see how that's sticking out just a little bit more on that side? And you can see it right here. See how that's a little bit more on that side? What I can do is I've got smooth jaw pair of needle nose here. Where is my smoothies? There we go. There's my smooth jaw pair of needle nose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up and tweak it just lightly to the side to get that roll. Because if we see, our roll is shooting off to one side. It's hanging out closest to my finger. So I need to get that back on center because I want the harp to throw really evenly. And this pair of pliers here, these smooth jaw pair of pliers here, are acting as a heat sink so the heat doesn't get into my reed area in the embouchure. Careful, your pliers will get pretty hot doing this. Get a little bit of heat. There it is. There we go. There we go. There is a... Cut this off. We should be done with this. There is the trigger loop about how I want for it to look. There's a little bit of debris, carbon in there. There we go. There's a nice, perfectly round trigger loop. I'm actually a little bit more recurved than I want. Looks like I'm pretty close to perpendicular. And then I'm going to do a little bit of light sanding and cleaning up here, because just the act of working with the hot metal and having the loop making pliers against there, you can get some kind of rough edges. And we're not melodic yet. There's going to be some adjustment of the arms where I'll get right dead on exactly flat. Okay, now we have the harp bent up. I got the trigger oriented about where I want it. I hit, I think, pretty close to that 2 millimeter trigger height that I like. Now, I'm from the US, but metric just makes more sense when you're laying out harps. Yeah, about 2 millimeters right there. Now, I'm still sharpened. This trigger here is still sharpened on the edges. I don't want anything to catch, to abrade. So what I'm going to do, I got some Grobet Swiss knife blade files. And I've got, if you look, I've got on one side, it's file. On the other side, I ground a safe side. So I can take this. This is not the normal place that I end up doing this, but I want to. Any roughness on there, just want to hit the edges of there, and I want to smooth this part as well, because this can, if a user gets too close to the edge there, they can technically abrade the inside of their lip. So here's some cylinder bore hones. I got this from a local compressor company. I got a coarse and a really fine. These are nice for taking and smoothing the side of here, because I don't want to leave that sharp. I like to do, if I'm doing a harp for someone, I like it to be up to the specifications I would have for a harp in my collection. Hit it with the coarse, then we'll hit it with this very, very smooth stone. Same thing the other side. I'm just getting that knee bend area especially, because I don't want a sharp edge. Now there's no burr along this, but I don't want any sharp edge on the trigger. There's no benefit I can have for a sharp edge. Now this, in doing this, this will raise me a little bit, the tone of it, because I am removing material. It'll get right on that knee bend. I'm pressing forward just a little bit. Don't press forward too hard, too far. You don't want to throw your harp out of whack. And the next thing I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to put this on a wire wheel just to smooth here, because if you get pinging, if you leave any roughness here, you'll notice when your finger brushes past it, it'll go ping, 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 and let's see here. I got a little bit of ping just from roughness, because as your finger goes across that, if there's any roughness at all from where you're tooling, where you're heating it up and using your needle nose pliers, or here's a good shot of the loop making pliers, you can leave some little marks, so we don't want to leave those on there. Let's take it over the wire wheel. I'm going to have it on low. I'm going to go across there, and I'm going to take a sanding sponge and sand that real good. And lastly, hit it with 1000 grit sandpaper, because I want that to flow really effortlessly across the finger. Harps I make, I want them to play dynamically and very easily. No catch, no drag, no pings. Okay, now we came over here to, I've got two areas I'm going to take this harp to. I've got, this is just a variable speed belt grinder. I like one with a light. I think this is a Craftsman. I don't know if they sell the Craftsman anymore, but on the internet you can find a variable speed grinding center. It's just got a potentiometer on there. We can turn it up, turn it down. Now those single speed, super high speed bench grinders, don't put your harp anywhere near it. You'll take off way too much metal too fast. And the other area I have is right here, I just have a cheap drill press, and I couldn't think of the word for drill press. And I've got a sanding sponge. I've actually got bigger sanding sponges I can put in here, but I got a little teeny sanding sponge here, and then that's going to be used for final smoothing. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to take this and clean it up a little bit. I'm holding the trigger so it doesn't get away from me. I don't want this to get sucked out of my hand. In the back, the front, the insides of it, all the different ways. Come right over here to the bench grind, or the drill press. Got that abrasive sanding sponge in there. It's going to sand away. Getting the inside of this, the sides. Feels good right there. That feels good. Feels like it's well polished. Okay, and I've got this where I want it. It's time to cut this tail off. I think the customer wanted a harp, no case, with a tail. So let's get this tail cut off. Okay, we are ready for some loud. I'm just going to show you how I end up doing long triggers. I kind of have a design here. I leave the trigger long until I'm ready to do my final adjustments. I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to do some cutting back and forth. It's going to give us this appearance that this straight reed has curvature to it, kind of like a stick. I'm going to take a pair of snips, old junk pair with snips. Cut that off there. I'm going to take it over the grinder. I'm going to do some grinding. I also have set up in the rotary tool. Here I have just an abrasive cone I can kind of use to do some grinding. I took it over to the bench grinder and kind of struck that edge off a little bit. Now these are going to be pretty rough edges until I smooth them. One good thing, if you're doing this, if you're working with power tools, safety glasses, hearing protection, take care of your body. You only pretty much get the one. Now I've done some marks on here where I can see. I want to bring it in here. you just continue doing this right here. Well, when you put it in the vise, make sure not to over tight. You don't want to warp your whole frame. Get your head down where you're at. See what it's looking like. How's that looking? Looks like it's curving. Okay, now I finished up with the Dremel multi-tool rotary tool. I gave it some curvature here and then took it off to the wire wheel, cleaned it up a bit. I'm going to do some more engraving on it. First thing I'm going to do is I do believe this is serial number 4. So I've got my Bebb motto, or Bebb name on there. Next I need to put the day's date and the serial number. This one would be 2/3 of 25. Find a place for the serial number. We'll put S1 4. There we go. There's our harp. We're ready to do some adjustment. I've did a lot of work cleaning up this trigger. It's got a nice throw. Got a nice sustain. We need to work on the sound, getting everything exactly where we want it. I want it to be melodic grade if we can. And I'm also going to take some 1000 grit sandpaper and clean up a little bit of these engravings. They've got engravings all over it. Interesting things that are a part of my life I engrave into there. Oftentimes I'll engrave what the moon phase is, when I start it, when I end it, the time of the year it is. So let's go ahead and let's continue this harp a little bit further. So at least an hour has went by of me fine-tuning and adjusting and readjusting this harp. Here is the finished Jaw Harp Johnson in D2. Went ahead and I did bring the trigger down a little bit more. I wanted it to throw a very particular way, so it ended up being a tad bit taller than this other one than my model. So I brought it down just a little bit more. It throws about how I want it now. Pretty even, pretty dry sound. I did do some meaningful engravings on the tail, as well as engraving the note on the back, D. Let's get an ear on this, see how it sounds. Yeah, it's throwing evenly in both directions, which is what I was after in the Jaw Harp Johnson line. Anyways, if you have any questions at all on harp building or harp repair, be sure to leave a comment below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more harpery. Harp out. And yeah, if you leave some comments below with specific questions, I may be able to make a video to try to answer them for you. But yeah, I'm fairly content with the way this one turned out. I did more polishing on the embouchure area this time, just so that it's super smooth on the tooth. Harp out.